It's an average Saturday afternoon. You just got your paycheck for your degrading part-time cashier job. A whopping $55.62. With your newfound riches, you decide to hit up some local garage sales to see if you can get a good deal on any retro games. These relics, forgotten by time, remind you of a simpler world. A world of play, of laughter, joy, excitement. Concepts that are becoming more and more unfamiliar to you with each passing day that you waste away at that goddamn cash register. You climb into your beat-up 2007 Saturn Ion with the rear bumper held on by duct tape, and drive. Stopping at each location to see what they have to offer. Clothes, books, kids' toys, but no games. This average Saturday afternoon has now devolved into a disappointing Saturday evening. With the orange glow of the setting sun enveloping you in despondency, you decide to make one last stop before calling it a day. You step out of the car, hopes lower than ever, to see more of the same. Tables of neatly folded clothes, boxes of old VHS tapes, dusty dinnerware, miscellaneous knickknacks. As you're heading back to the car, something out of the corner of your eye catches your attention. A lone PlayStation 1 game, resting atop a plastic tote full of bedsheets. With the glare of the sun reflecting off its plastic jewel case, you can't quite make out what game it is. But you can tell it's a 3-disc game based on the thickness of the case. You wonder which game it could be. Alone in the Dark? Final Fantasy? Chrono Cross? Curiosity now at its peak, you find yourself reaching for the alluring game. Your curiosity has now twisted into total confusion. Now holding the game in your cold, clammy hands, you read the title, speaking it out loud. Minecraft, PlayStation Edition. As these words leave your lips, you feel a chill run down your spine. How can this be? You think to yourself. Minecraft wasn't invented until 2009. By then, even the PlayStation 3 was already 3 years old. This is impossible. Surely this is a fake or a homebrew or something. Flipping the game over, you take a gander at the rest of the case. At first glance, all appears to be normal. It has a rating, a barcode, gameplay screenshots, even a SLUS number. But upon further inspection, you notice the text on the back of the case. It's not English. In fact, it's no language that you've ever seen before, to your recollection. Strange indeed. You tear your eyes away from the case. It's getting dark out. The owners of the house have begun packing up their unsold items, and most of the customers have gone home. You glance back down at the game to see the price sticker. $15. Should I? You ponder. $15 is a sizable amount for someone in your position. Why spend this much for something that might not even work? But you can't just let something this unusual go. You have to know what it is, or it will haunt you for the rest of your life. For the first time, you open the case. You see the first disc. Overworld. Next to it appears to be the game manual. You open it, but all the pages are torn out. Why would someone do this? Shoving the thought aside, you close the empty housing of what presumably once was an instruction booklet and open the second compartment of the case, revealing the other 2 discs. The end and the slip. The slip? Is that supposed to be the nether? Shrugging off your confusion, you question the integrity of the game. All the discs are here, but in what condition? You check the shiny black underside of each disc for scratches, but they are minimal. You take one last look at your surroundings. Nobody has noticed you. In what is not your proudest moment, you close the case, shove it into the pocket of your hoodie, and as you do, you feel a sudden sense that someone or something is watching you. You spare a quick glance over your shoulder. Nothing. You briskly leave the scene, shuffle into your car, and start the engine. Upon arriving at your humble abode, you slam the door behind you, startled by the sound. It seems to have snapped you out of your daze, bringing you to a more conscious state of mind. It's a very familiar feeling. That same feeling you experience every time you wake up. Your surroundings slowly become more real to you. You slowly become more self-aware. Your clothes are damp from sweat. Your vision is blurrier than normal. You don't remember the drive home. It's as if you teleported. Looking around the room, not quite sure what you're looking for, your eyes stop once you reach the clock on the wall. 11:57. What the fuck? Not so much a question that begs for an answer, but rather a simple declaration of bewilderment. You toss your keys in the direction of the table, not caring whether they land on it or not. You open the mysterious case, remove the Overworld disc, and place it into your PlayStation console, close the lid, and press the power button. A procedure you've done so many times before, but this time, it doesn't feel so comforting. You're welcomed by the notoriously eerie startup sequence of the PS1, preceded by a large spinning grass block accompanied by the word loading. You find yourself become increasingly more uneasy as the block continues to spin. And spin. And spin. And as it does so, you feel yourself starting to slip away. Before you have time to process your suspicions, it stops. and the title screen presents itself to you. Minecraft PlayStation Edition. There are 3 buttons: Play, Options, and Quit Game. Next to these options, a graphic of Steve. His eyes seem to pierce through yours, looking directly into your soul, but it's just a picture, right? The background, while perhaps unintentional, is intangibly disturbing. It appears to be some kind of mansion, expertly built nonetheless, in a dark and foggy setting. You press play, proceeding to the World Select screen. To your surprise, there is already one world. Tutorial. You're no stranger to Minecraft, so you ignore it, eagerly jumping straight into the Create New World button. Most of the standard world creation options seem to be there, along with a virtual keyboard. You use it to name your world. Then you set your game mode, world type, difficulty, and with the controller ever so slightly trembling in your hands, you hesitate just for a second. Curiosity, anxiety, excitement, fear. All of these emotions hit you like a punch to the stomach. Your breath stops. The clock strikes 12, preparing for world creation. Do not turn off system.
If I were to ask you what the story of Minecraft was, where would your mind first go? Sure, there's the actual story of Minecraft, with bits and pieces of world building scattered throughout clues in the world and in spin-off games, where you can get a more general idea on what's going on. Things we may even get more elaboration on with that live-action Minecraft movie starring Jack Black and Jason Momoa. What the fuck? But with how open-ended Minecraft is, this may not be the first thing you think of when you think of the story of Minecraft. Your answer may be a lot more meta, and one a larger majority of us may already know. And like every story about an insane indie developer, we need to start at the most terrifying place of all, Scandinavia. More specifically, Sweden this time. We all know the story. In 2010, some dude named Marcus toyed with the test of a survival-based exploration game with the focus of taking resources out of the world, and, most importantly, building. Then 14 years later, it would become one of the biggest games in the world, be bought out by Microsoft, and that same Swedish guy would go on to make some very inflammatory statements, but hey, that's a story for another time. The point I'm trying to make is Minecraft's developmental history is very well documented and very well preserved. Aside from the spare alpha and beta version here and there, you can virtually play any version of Minecraft you'd like on almost every piece of hardware released in the past decade and a half. But could older pieces of hardware still support this game? Is there a chance that it could have even at some point? Minecraft's developmental history is very well documented, yes, but did it truly start in the 2010s? This idea wasn't something I would have even challenged. Well, at least not until I saw this image. Now, obviously, this alone doesn't prove anything about the developmental history of Minecraft being fundamentally changed. This image right here could be passed off as anything from a neat homebrew disc to an elaborate shitpost. But then I started to see more. We had the back of the case, equipped with speech broken up in enchanting table, and multiple discs for different dimensions, being for the overworld, the slip, and the end. And despite this edition being made for hardware that came out 15 years before we thought Minecraft had even started, it strangely seemed to feature content we had only just gotten a few years ago. Supposedly, even featuring content we have yet to see. I couldn't really believe what I was seeing, but after stumbling upon video proof of this edition, my curiosity would continue to peak higher and higher. Everything surrounding this just began to make less and less sense. Does Mojang as a company have documentation going back as far as 1998? Why did it take so long for these features to be ported back into the base Minecraft we all know today? In my mind, there was only one thing to do now. Somehow track down and play this elusive edition for myself, and hopefully uncover the dark mystery behind this lost Minecraft edition. Maybe it was even lost for a reason. is what I would say if any of this was real. I'm sorry to rip the band-aid off this early, but to actually get into detail on what's going on here, we need to be as transparent and upfront as possible first. No, there is unfortunately no Minecraft version for the PS1. Mojang was founded in 2009, and this version of the game is actually just a mod pack running Minecraft version 1.18. But just because it isn't actually real, doesn't mean that there is still not a lot of intrigue and mystique around this mod pack. Meant to look into an alternate reality where everything we know about the history of our favorite sandbox game is absolutely flipped on our heads. Minecraft horror is something I am not novice to experiencing and discussing. This game, ever since it came out, has had a pretty eerie atmosphere to some. One, I believe, if done correctly, can be exploited in ways to genuinely play on our senses and emotions. Despite this, any horror content relating to Minecraft has seemed to plateau as of late thanks to this cave-burrowing bastard. I've gone in length previously on my opinions on the current state of Minecraft horror, and how I believe it certainly had much to be desired. But I did bring up a lot of things I believe have always made Minecraft unnerving, especially in earlier versions. Things I wish for future creators to truly capitalize on in an attempt to make the atmosphere of this game subtly unsettling. And this mod pack just may be the thing to finally meet my expectations. Minecraft PSX is a project started by X Kaz's Cool X, or just Kaz for short. Little is known about this person other than they have been working on this project since October of 2022 by the latest, with the first instance of this mod pack being shown off on his own channel, on the video appropriately titled MCSX Trailer, not to be confused with another trailer we'll get into way later in this video. This video instead simply showing a camera pan over key areas in the Minecraft world. Some shots even featuring content we aren't so familiar with. Going onto the mod page, we see some screenshots I showed off earlier, the creepypasta we read at the beginning, and the controller map, which is something I forgot to mention. This mod pack actually has full controller support, and it's highly recommended to experience this game with one. I personally don't have a PS1 controller on deck, unfortunately, but I have the next best thing, a PS5 controller. Finally, the PS5 controller is able to play a game. Within this information, there are also miscellaneous details about the pack and its purpose. In mod pack details, we get this little blurb. This mod pack aims to be what Minecraft would look like if it was made on the PS1. It includes bad render distance, fog, warping graphics, 2D item models, graphics and sounds from the alpha days, 2D billboarding objects, and more. In the spirit of the creepy atmosphere that many PS1 games have, you will come across some things that will spook you pretty good that I will not be spoiling. This doesn't really tell us anything we don't know already, but it still helps solidify the big focus on this mod pack is the horror aspect of it. Something I am really intrigued to see translated fully when playing. Kaz goes on to list off some details and additions made to this version of the game, with additions varying from removing mending or netherite horse armor, to a full-fledged end update, equipped with new ore called endite and new explorable biomes, a little teaser of which we have been being shown for a while now. At the very end of this page, we are given a disclaimer, and the answer to what is likely the biggest question you can probably have as to why there are so many modern features included into this version of the game that supposedly came out in 1998. Subtlety is key. Don't expect a totally different gameplay experience in just the first 2 minutes. A lot of the creepy shit has a low chance of happening. Be patient. Just try to play as if it were normal Minecraft. Some people wonder why this is a current version of Minecraft, since it was supposed to be a PS1 game. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is nobody wants to play a version of Minecraft that has no features. The second reason is that back in the old days of gaming, developers released finished versions of games, because they weren't able to update it later via patches. This is what I imagine a finished version of Minecraft would look like. Just suspend your disbelief a bit. Imagine this is like an ARG. The idea of this being the intended full release of Minecraft really makes this narrative being constructed extremely interesting. The explanation also makes a lot of sense. Although I believe Minecraft Alpha could have still been a fully packaged and releasable game in 1998 for the PlayStation 1, the idea of this being the ideal, finalized version of Minecraft that modern Mojang needs to play a long game of catch-up to really makes the world where this game exists all the more interesting. And, as the mod page tells us, we should view this as an ARG, a look into an alternate timeline, where the information we are experiencing really did happen, only in the universe that we're viewing into. That really seems to be all the information surrounding the mod pack out of the way. Now, we really only have one thing to do: boot it up and play it ourselves. But first, before we descend further into the nightmares that await us, I fortunately have something else to recommend that is also fortunately not haunted, as this video is sponsored by Dragon City. Dragon City is a game that allows you to create your very own dragon empire by collecting, hatching, and evolving over 1,000 unique dragons, some even including your favorite YouTubers. Not me though, I'm not big enough to be turned to a dragon. Dragon City allows you to construct and customize your dream city with magical habitats, buildings, and decorations, as well as participate in engaging PvP battles with other dragon masters and dominate the leaderboard. By unleashing powerful dragon skills and strategies to conquer challenging quests and events like the Wizard's Hollow. Right now, you can join a vibrant and always growing community of over 450 million players and collaborate in alliances to unlock exclusive rewards. And right now, if you download Dragon City by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code, you will get a special bundle of 15,000 food, 30,000 gold, and a very rare Iceling dragon to get you started. So, if you're interested, give yourself a head start from all the competition and download Dragon City using my link or QR code. And of course, thank you to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to the topic at hand. Right away, we're met with something very unorthodox from what we are used to. There's a loading screen for the startup of the game, which is usually fairly typical, but it's not the Mojang Studios logo that shows up. It's not even the older Mojang specifications logo. It's instead simply a dirt block with the word loading written under it. It's certainly a small detail, yes, but such a subtle change to a part of the game you're not even supposed to think about really shows how committed this project is going to be to its theming. A stance that only gets further validated as we transition to the title screen. Everything about this is very off. Not directly creepy, or as if it's trying to intentionally be scary, but certainly off. The first thing you may notice is this PNG of Steve just chilling here. He doesn't fit in with the rest of his surroundings at all, and is a key contributor to making this screen feel all the more dreamlike. Steve also has the chance of changing into something else, but we'll talk about that later. At the bottom left, we have the old Mojang specifications logo, and right in the middle, we have the logo for Minecraft PlayStation Edition, sporting Minecraft's modern logo as opposed to its alpha rendition. The subtitle stating the version of the game is also pretty peculiar. Does this imply that there could have been multiple ports of Minecraft, even as far back as this release? The background, instead of our typical panoramic shot of the open world, is replaced with a singular static image, one of a rather impressive mansion build. Though this isn't just any mansion. And if you're familiar with really old Minecraft community history, you may have immediately recognized summarize this as Herobrine's Mansion. The lore and history of this map isn't all that important to the video itself, but to make it as brief as possible, Herobrine's Mansion is one of the earliest and most popular Minecraft adventure maps to ever release. Being published on November 3rd of 2012 by none other than Hypixel, the map recommends you play with a specific texture pack that looks really ugly by today's standards, so thankfully the screenshot used for the background ditches it, being themed with the rest of the pack, with the alpha textures and this PS1-esque parallaxing shader that will be present throughout the rest of the video. This is another one of those really small and really specific details, and once again, also something that makes everything here feel that more off with the context. We're given only 3 buttons on this menu screen, as opposed to your typical 6. Quit game, options, and play. Quit game is pretty self-explanatory, no need to click it right now. Though the options menu is a lot more bare bones than usual. The only options being your screenshots folder, audio options, and your FOV slider. Damn, the PS1 game got to feature a ton of modern FPS games would have put on console for years. That is the least believable thing about this mod pack. There's actually a single screenshot in the folder if you choose to look in there, one dated all the way back to November 16th, 1998. The screenshot seems to be of a player building a big house, and it looks eerily similar to the Herobrine's Mansion, as showcased on the title screen. But that's not the only peculiar detail about this screenshot. Is that netherite? Another notable detail is that this dude has 30 enchanted golden apples, so they're probably craftable in this version. Okay, that's enough diddly-dallying on the menus. We've got a game to play. Pressing play game takes us to the create new world menu, but we have a world already created. Tutorial. Last opened October 13th, 1998. Oh boy, I can't believe I get to talk about this again. Booting up the world, it might not be obvious at first due to all the rain and fog, but if we walk out a little further, it becomes very clear to us that this is one of the legacy console tutorial worlds, specifically the one for Title Update 70, the last tutorial world made for Legacy Edition Minecraft. Seeing this for the first time, I had no idea it would be included in this pack, but its inclusion is something that kind of called to me, and ultimately, what dead convinced me to make this video. If you don't know, 3 years ago, I had uploaded what is still my most popular video to date, going over the history of every one of these tutorial worlds from Console Edition Minecraft. This was a video many of you have probably watched in the past without even knowing it was me. It was super bare bones and primitive to what I typically make today, but I tell you all this to outline these worlds hold kind of a sentimental value to myself. Not just for the memories I had while playing them when I was a kid, but with how much opportunity talking about them would end up giving me. So seeing it in this weird, vaguely uncomfortable, but simultaneously weirdly comforting state is so bizarre to be revisiting. Wandering around this world helps us get used to some key changes this mod pack makes from the base game. Everything is on the lowest graphical settings possible, with the previously mentioned PS1 shader applied as well. Another key change is the HUD, having a more traditional RPG look to it, with all your essential bars tucked away to the left side of your screen, instead of being in the center of your hotbar. You'll also notice our character portrait at the top left of the screen. Again, another parallel to the console editions of Minecraft. But we're not playing as our custom skin. Instead, we're playing as simply Steve. To my knowledge, there's no way to enable custom skins in this mod pack, and I really enjoy that actually. It makes the entire thing feel all the more immersive because, like, of course custom skins wouldn't be a thing in 1998, unless there was a built-in skin creator in the game, but I think that would have been way too much effort to put in. So, Steve it is. Another thing you might immediately notice is some of the intense reverb some of the areas of this game have. likely to parallel advanced audio processing being one of the main selling points for the original PlayStation. I don't know how accurate this would be to how PlayStation would actually process audio, but ultimately, it definitely contributes to the creepy aesthetics of this game, so I can't complain too much. Again, just extend your disbelief a bit. If you want to learn more about the Minecraft tutorial worlds, you can check out that old video after this one. Just keep in mind the production value is nothing like how it is now. Aside from that, there's not really much to do here. So, I exited and prepared to start my new world for Minecraft on the PlayStation 1. The Create New World menu now has the included option of a virtual keyboard, so taking advantage of this novelty, I painstakingly type out the name of my new world. Daggz. After patiently waiting for my world to load in, I was welcomed to a very typical spawn, landing on top of a tree and wasting no time harvesting resources. I did the usual, got wood, collected some sugarcane and saplings, and made a crafting table. And right here, we're introduced to one of the most frustrating things about this pack. There's a reason why the crafting menu on console versions of the game is heavily streamlined for controller in mind. Minecraft PSX doesn't have such a luxury. Everything you craft has to be made handmade. The recipe book is still present, but with this control scheme, it's barely that useful unless you're crafting large stacks. After a while, I did eventually get used to this, but it definitely took some trial and error at first. I continued the early game progression, getting cobblestone, crafting stone tools, even stumbling across copper ore, sporting old, traditional Minecraft ore textures. I wandered around some more, finally coming across some wildlife in the low render distance. The cows certainly looking a lot whiter than usual. As you will notice, there's going to be a lot of texture changes you'll see throughout this mod pack, some subtle and others drastic. To my knowledge, cows never had a texture like this in any early version of the game, the change only likely being made to invoke more of that subtle uncomfort you're going to be feeling throughout this entire pack. The early progress was fairly slow, with my main goal being to find a cave. But the thought of finding a cave was quickly put in the back of my mind as I noticed it was starting to get dark. Finding a herd of sheep, I do what I have to do and make a bed to sleep through the first night. Waking up, I packed up my belongings and ventured out further, finding my first enemy, a zombie and a skeleton that stood in the shade. Killing them finally revealed to me a cave I could actually explore. Making my way down, I got coal and my first bit of iron. Though, as I was making my way further down, I would hear some strange noises. Realizing that I have found a deep dark cave. Carefully exploring closer, I discovered that it also cut into a mine shaft. I tried to make my way around the cave, but the sounds were getting even more creepy. Not wanting to summon a warden before I even had iron armor, I dug out of that portion of the cave, and into one that was a lot less infected. Smelting down all my ore, I kit up with full iron and a shield. After arming myself, I ventured into another part of the cave, and really started to feel how much the reverb added to the atmosphere and paranoia these environments now have. Caving is terrifying in PSX, with limited lighting, limited visibility, but the ability to hear things from much further away off the echoing walls of the crevices takes such a typical and integral part to regular Minecraft gameplay and completely flips it on its head. Achieving a feeling like this is hard already, but it's even harder to maintain after its initial shock. For me, Minecraft PSX does both. For comparison, let's revisit our good friend real quick. The main thing I had praised the Cave Dweller for initially was its suspenseful build-up to the encounter. Hearing loud noises you have never heard before echo through the walls of the cave, to hearing loud footsteps approaching you, to the payoff of the encounter ending in a very loud chase or jump scare is a fantastic way to set up a horror encounter, especially for Minecraft. But it isn't sustainable. After a while, you start to become more desensitized to the presence of the Cave Dweller. You learn its paths patterns, how it works behind the scenes, ways to counter the entity, and every time you learn more, the less scary an encounter becomes. I can't really say the same about the caving in PSX. The atmosphere of the caves in this mod pack never fails to unsettle me. Even still, going back to write the script of this video, it takes the best aspect about the cave dweller, the first initial confusion of your surroundings, and applies it to vanilla principles. There's not really a physical threat in these caves outside of the vanilla mobs. Well, not exactly, but we'll get to that later. But for now, all you need to worry about are your traditional skeletons, zombies, creepers, etc. But as explained previously, PSX, instead of adding new things to scare you, instead takes away a lot that the player would have been used to in a traditional Minecraft experience, opting to utilize audio to make the environment more unsettling. Trying to not let this distract me from my objectives, I continued to collect my resources, fight mobs that came into my vision, and eventually decide to dig back out into the surface. It's nighttime when I get up there, and I have some friends who want to see me. Clearing them out of the way, I sleep the second night away. Day 3 was mainly an above-ground exploration day, harvesting many trees, food, and some much-needed red dye for my bed. Having our bed be white just kind of felt off for this pack. Right after crafting that, though, I heard a very strange noise. A distant door opening sound. Again, PSX does this a lot to mess with you, and over time, it starts to become less and less subtle. But for right now, it's still pretty ignorable, even if it did make me jump a bit the first time. I find a sinkhole in the ground that supposedly leads to another cave system, this area being where I decide to build my base. I place down all my belongings in a chest, which also works like the beta ones. Now, getting work to terraforming my landscape. My specialty when it comes to building Minecraft houses are things that try to go for a bit of a medieval or fantasy aesthetic, but I wanted to do something a little more classic feeling for this. I wanted to make this house feel like it was ripped straight out of beta Minecraft. After finding some references on Google, I began production on my cozy little house. The process was slow, a lot slower than it typically would be thanks to my new control scheme, but block by block, I would make progression on my tiny abode. But it was also around this time things were starting to get really weird. Do you hear that? This started around night 4 of building my house. I don't know where it came from, and as time would pass, it would only get louder. Not knowing the source of the noise, I just tried my best to ignore it, and continued working on my house. Another noise I would start hearing regularly were false creeper fuses. Something that I would get so used to that when something like this would happen, I literally wouldn't react. But after about an hour of building, my house would finally reach completion. Going inside, I started furnishing a bit. While attempting to place some paintings, I put down this. This would officially mark my first encounter with Herobrine in this mod pack. It should be stated right away that Minecraft PSX uses the mod From the Fog. If you're unaware, this is a horror mod that doesn't add much, other than subtle encounters with Herobrine into your world. It's a mod that a lot of people wanted me to review in my initial Minecraft horror mods video, but I purposely skipped it, as I thought it didn't really fit with the theme. From the Fog is what I would consider one of the better Minecraft horror mods, being intentionally subtle in many aspects. I don't think Herobrine ever physically appears to attack you, he just kinda stalks you from a distance and teleports away. It's debatable on how scary this is, but when put in this environment, it definitely made me jump a couple of times. Oh yeah, this painting is completely unrelated to From the Fog, by the way. I have no idea what adds this. After having built my house, I took this as an opportunity to finally explore that sinkhole below me, with the main intent of finding diamonds. The whispers would come back in full swing, somehow being even louder than they were last time. After being down here for about 20 minutes, I would eventually find my first set of diamonds. More sounds would be played, hearing weird, distant growls. All of this ultimately accumulating to something spawning near me. So, you know how I said this mod pack was spooky entity free? Well, I lied a little bit. Minecraft PSX comes installed with a slightly obscure mod, but one that still has the intention of adding horror elements to the game. Sanity: Descent into Madness, a mod that aims to add a sanity system in Minecraft, similar to games such as Amnesia or Don't Starve. If your sanity gets low enough, you'll start to hear noises that aren't real, and eventually will be attacked by shadow creatures that are insanely hard to kill. Though in this mod pack, they're retextured to be more like translucent endermen, which certainly makes them a lot harder to hit. If there's any inclusion in this pack I could go without, it would honestly be this. I like the audio trickery it adds, but after a while, it starts to become more of a nuisance than scary, and spawning in a lay spooky sanity creature doesn't really help with it either. I eventually made my way out of the cave, even if it took forever when attempting to avoid these entities. I tried sleeping to see if it would help, but that also left to no avail. Eventually, I gave up, took all my armor off, and just waited for whatever was outside to kill me, which did not take long, marking my first death in the game. The game over screen in PSX is another change I really enjoy, sporting new text saying game over instead of the traditional you died. The time it takes for you to respawn is also delayed, intentionally making it to where you need to wait on the title screen for a moment before you can enter back into the world. It makes dying in PSX feel a lot more like a shameful event rather than just an inconvenience, making the moment you get all your stuff back feel a little more satisfying. But the thing that especially contributes to this feeling, I believe, is the new theme added after the fact. The music of Minecraft PSX is really difficult to explain. A lot of it is just the Minecraft music you've grown to know, but with a few odd qualities added to it. I've been playing it all throughout this video, and I've just also been listening to it in my leisure as well. A good example of what I'm trying to get at can be found in PSX remix of the song Area Math, now dubbed Luft Matt. It's the same chord progression, but it sounds off-key, like this is the version of the song that would play in your head when trying to remember what it sounded like after hearing it for the first time. This makes the soundtrack one of, if not the most memorable thing about my experience with this game, not failing to contribute to the uncomfortable but familiar atmosphere PSX throws at you. Putting that aside for now, we continue my personal journey with the game. I retrieve my stuff outside, my sanity finally being reset. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any way of resetting it outside of dying. There are ways in the original mod, but I think they might have been disabled, which I think is super lame. It feels like it would make this almost impossible in hardcore mode. But regardless, I brush this off and just try to continue with my typical Minecraft progression. I used the finite amount of diamonds I collected to create my first diamond pickaxe. I also did some light furnishing around the sinkhole in front of my house as well, putting a fence around it so I don't accidentally fall in, as well as putting in a ladder that allows me to get out and descend further into the cave. My main goal right now has shifted to getting to the Nether, but there were still a lot more small things I needed to do before I decided to travel there. First thing I started on was building a wheat farm on the side of my house. It was small, but it was enough for me to get a food source for when I couldn't find any animals. I went caving again for a while, collecting any coal or iron I could find. But once again, I was really out for more diamonds. I got into the middle of mining some emeralds, and then a skeleton trick-shotted me out of nowhere, and I needed to go back and retrieve my stuff. This footage isn't really all that eventful, but I did end up finding some more diamonds, so that was a certified Minecraft W at the very least. While exploring down here, I also found a lava pit, and took this as an opportunity to harvest some obsidian for my upcoming nether portal, as well as enough for an enchanting table. Getting what I needed, I started heading my way back up to the surface, but got jumped by another fucking sanity creature, and I had to go retrieve my stuff again. Getting my stuff for the second time, I guess I didn't learn my lesson and attempted to keep mining down here, and I got blown up by a creeper. again. I go back down and I still continue caving for some reason. I'm just a masochist, I guess. But I finally decide to leave after looting an abandoned mineshaft. Having acquired new resources, I start work on my biggest base expansion yet. Digging down a few blocks into the ground in my house, I started to clear out the area. The process was slow, and it required a lot of iron and stone, but eventually I would create an area I was proud enough for at the moment. Around this time, I also got visited by some pillagers too, and got the bad omen status. Though this didn't do much, as I hadn't discovered a village once this entire playthrough. Taking a short break from the basement, I wanted to start an animal farm on the other side of my house, finding 2 cows in the wild and leading them back to the base. I hadn't built an animal enclosure yet, so I just had them chill in the wheat fields for a little bit. Getting to work on that, I accidentally got a sheep in there too, which I took to my advantage and made a separate enclosure for sheep as well. At this point, I was pretty proud of the outside of my base, and this would basically be the way that it would stay for the rest of the playthrough. But the downstairs still had not been finished. Making some decorational pillars, I put the frame of what this room's purpose would stand for right in the middle. I had no idea what the Nether would have in store for me in this game, so I didn't want to go in underprepared. I spent more time collecting resources, both for survival and just to make my base look more pretty, even making a little enclosure for my enchanting room I planned on expanding. I waited to enchant at least some of my armor before going into the Nether, so that's what most of my time was now dedicated to doing. Using the cow farm I had started, as well as just slaughtering some other wildlife, I would build up the leather I'd need for the books. But while I was in the middle of killing a horse, I found another really strange anomaly. I hadn't built this, and this isn't something that would just generate naturally, to my knowledge at least. It doesn't even go anywhere. It digs for a few meters, and then just ends. Another strange occurrence that is only exclusive to this edition of the game. This is a 2x2 tunnel, something described all the way back in the original Herobrine creepypasta. Anomalies like this aren't wildly uncommon in PSX, and as we'll see, we're gonna experience a lot more of these anomalies soon enough. My sanity had gotten really low once again, and as you can see, I was attempting to create ways to counteract the effects as provided on the mod page. But they are disabled, and this is when I finally found that out. To my knowledge, making death literally the only viable option to regain sanity. Again, I would love to see this rectified and reworked in the future. There's apparently going to be a big update that should come to the pack soon, but as of writing this, we have still yet to get it. And this video has been in production since March, so. But this time, I was really trying not to die and lose my levels. So I made enchanted diamond armor as quickly as I could, getting not so bad results. So, finally, being geared up enough to take on the challenge that'll be in my way, I enter through the portal and into the Nether. Wait, that's not the Nether. This is... Before the Nether, we had the Slip. In our world, it was just a placeholder name for the dimension, but in this continuity, it was changed in our modern Minecraft era. The Slip is a dark and decrepit parallel to the Overworld, being surrounded by layers and layers of slipstone. But thankfully, we get one of the luckiest spawns we could here, ending up directly in front of a Slip fortress. Though a sanity creature attacked me as soon as I entered, so I immediately had to go back to the Overworld so it could kill me to reset my sanity. Okay, actually going into the Slip now. Since we spawned in the middle of a fortress, the main thing we need out of this dimension, blazes, is super readily available to us right away. The Slip is a place that really benefits from the eeriness the PSX mod pack provides, including a lot of really old features from the dimension, such as zombie pigmen having their original red blood texture put on them. The Slip is also a lot harder to traverse thanks to the extremely limited render render distance, making the time I'm staying here very limited as a result. I went back to the overworld and continued caving, exploring, etc. I went at this for 2 whole hours until I finally had the amount of diamonds I needed for likely the rest of the entire playthrough. I know there's still netherite, I mean slipsteel and endite, but like hell I'm going to get it with this limited render distance. While exploring, I also found another anomaly. As you can see, I wasted no time digging around the area to see if there was anything. But alas, there was nothing. Not that I could find, at least. Just another strange thing. I'd continue a bunch of miscellaneous stuff for now. Mining, exploring, fighting, expanding my basement. I think the main goal at this point was to get a fully leveled enchanting table. But I also wanted to see if the world potentially housed more than what I could see in this small area. So, for the first time in the mod pack, I overcame my fears and I actually attempted to travel out. And I found nothing. Like, there was literally nothing interesting around me. Granted, I still didn't even travel that far, but can you blame me with this render distance? Finding a village or any other subsequent structure would be practically based completely off luck over anything. Eventually, I had enough diamonds to craft full diamond armor and a set of diamond tools, officially being pretty damn kitted up. I also got a dog around this time too. I don't know. Their presence here is a lot more comforting than in the base game. Feeling more protected, we wandered around for a little bit more, actually finding some different biomes. We stumbled across a taiga in an icy plains biome, even encountering someone I did not expect to see. I guess Mojang in 1998 was better at making decisions than current Mojang. Not too far from where I killed the Isolager, there was also an igloo, the first and only non-progression based overworld structure I'd find in this playthrough. Strangely, it did not have a basement though. I guess I just got unlucky. The redstone torch inside illuminated the entirety of the surroundings with its red light, a feature I absolutely love about this shader pack. Colored lights are something really advanced shader packs barely ever do, so having it in this version of Minecraft makes everything feel all the more appropriate for the time period, and the engine this version of Minecraft would have possibly run on. The rest of my exploration was basically focused on just trying to get back home, finding some more unfamiliar friends along the way, which dropped a lot of leather, by the way. I was really happy about that. I wanted to get home before I went insane, as I was already being chased by a shadow creature, and I did not want to die this far out. I made it back to my home safely and securely, finally finishing my goal of a complete enchanting table shortly after. Though, I still didn't have the amount of levels I desired to get my gear to where I wanted it to be at. So I went back into the caves, gathered as much cobble as I could muster, and finally returned to the slip. My goal here now was just to kill some enemies and maybe mine some resources. But as you can see, that did not go as planned. I knew I should have just stick to mining quartz. Going back to retrieve my stuff was a battle. Death upon death trying to get my belongings back from blazes and wither skeletons. Eventually, I got all my gear back in one piece and decided to venture out into the slip a little bit to get my levels up, like I planned to do 2 hours ago. And if venturing far in the overworld is scary in this game, doing so in the slip is 10 times more. I found a soul sand valley and bridged further out with the blocks I had collected, beginning to strip mine in hopes of finding some more quartz veins. I even ended up burrowing down to ancient debris level, but alas, I didn't find any. Though, what I did find was a warped forest biome, a place that I would camp at until I acquired enough ender pearls. But this process took a lot longer than I like to admit, getting horrible pearl RNG at some points. But after a long while of farming, I finally accumulated what I needed. Right on time too, because I was now starting to go insane. Traversing back from where I was seemed way too dangerous, so I instead made a new portal, and would find my way back through the overworld. Getting a very unfortunate spawn in a cave, I had to dig my way out, eventually digging out into an ocean and swimming back up. Not having the materials for a boat, I had to traverse the ocean with my own body. But on my way back, I found another one of these weird structures. A sand pyramid. on the shore of the ocean. Much like all the other weird structures that we have found so far, it doesn't house anything of purpose. This also seems very familiar. Making my way back home took a while, but I would eventually find my way back to my house with the resources I needed. Collecting my blaze powder and end rods, I crafted 16 Eyes of Ender. A little overkill, but I wanted to go in prepared. I was gearing up to start heading to the stronghold. But before going, I stopped back in the slip really quick to pick up some slipwort for potions I wanted to brew. I then waited a few nights for phantoms to start spawning in order to make some slow falling potions. I also finally enchanted all of my new gear. Hooray! This should have been done like 5 hours ago. I also collected some apples and used the gold I had accumulated up until this point all to make golden apples. I know it seems like I'm probably over preparing a bit, but we have literally no idea what the end could be like on the PlayStation 1. So I wanted to make sure I was covering all my bases. Finally accumulating what I consider an appropriate inventory. Not wasting any more time, I threw my first Eye of Ender and hoped for the best. The journey to the stronghold would go without a hitch, spawning in the middle of the ocean and needing to get down there. I found the portal room almost immediately and prepared an entry. This would be the finale of Minecraft PlayStation 1 Edition. I hope you can see why I came over prepared now. Even having to find my way to the island itself was a struggle, but it would become the absolute least of my worries. So, in short, the end fight is impossible. It is literally impossible. The dragon is impervious to all sword damage, the end crystals infinitely regenerate, and there are also new phantoms around the area that have the ability to fucking pick you up. I eventually caved in and decided to cheat, but even trying to kill this thing in creative mode was practically impossible. So apparently, this is caused by several bugs. Bugs meant to be fixed in a large update meant to come soon. But as discussed previously, it's been a few months now, so I don't know exactly when we're going to get that. I'd spend a while trying to do this fight legitimately, but I gave up and literally had to resort to killing the dragon with console commands. Awesome. After the battle, I took my highly undeserved egg and went through the portal, back to the overworld. But I did something not many people do anymore. I stuck around for the entire end poem. Nothing seemed different at first, until I noticed something. Look at the spelling of some of the words. They have random capitalization. I let the rest of the poem play out, counting each and every letter I could find. Eventually, this is what I was able to spell out. I tried to warn you. You will meet the same fate as me, unless you wake up. Waiting for just a little longer, we get one more message. Our game is far from over. And just like that, we have reached the end of Minecraft PSX! The ending is absolutely the most intriguing part of the entire mod pack to me. Hiding one last secret in the end poem of all places is nothing short of brilliant, and something I'm surprised hasn't been thought of before. Everything from the words only coming from the green narrator to the wake up now being in all caps leaves so many unanswered questions that brought a chill down my spine the first time I deciphered this. Is this supposed to be Herobrine? Is that why he's been following us around this entire time? As of right now, this question will likely stay unresolved. Minecraft PSX is one of the most creative horror mods I have ever played for this game, and is everything I believe Minecraft horror should be. Sure, it certainly has its issues. I think the sanity mod should be reworked or just removed completely, and whatever happened with this end fight absolutely needs to be addressed, but the pack utilizes everything that has already made Minecraft so scary. The low render distance, the fog, the warped nostalgia, and tiny details that make everything just feel off. It's subtle. You're not going to be chased down by 20 white or gray creatures every 5 seconds. Your encounters of Herobrine are insanely scarce. You probably didn't even notice that he showed up at some points in this video. And honestly, I really enjoy that. There's a ton of content Minecraft PSX adds or changes, and I would highly recommend anyone watching, if they're able to check out the mod pack for themselves. I left a link to it in the description, as I believe this experience was not only unnerving, but also genuinely a really fun and interesting way to experience Minecraft, especially if you've been burnt out of the game for a while. The novelty doesn't wear off nearly as fast as you'd think, and if you have the imagination strong enough to get immersed, I believe anyone who checks out this mod pack will be in for a great time. But that was my experience of Minecraft PSX, a lost, forgotten copy of the game never meant to be found by modern history, with there potentially also being a ghost in the machine as well. A fun and novel concept I am happy I got to share with you today. Except that's not necessarily where it ends. I'm not the only person who found this lost copy, nor am I even the first to archive footage of this lost game. For as you see, the rabbit hole of MCSX goes deeper than you could see at first glance. And out of everyone who's played, one individual has left the most intriguing cases. This is the Minecraft PSX Archive. Let's go back a little bit, all the way back to the mod pack creator's description of the mod. This is what I imagine a finished version of Minecraft would look like. Just suspend your disbelief a bit. Imagine this like an ARG. This is important. Minecraft PSX had some light ARG elements to it. The entire concept of a forgotten Minecraft version for the PS1 and hints of a ghost in the machine are key drivers of that. But the mod pack itself is pretty light on actual story content. The best you get is from the mod page itself. Just like the game it's based on, PSX feels more like a foundation for a story rather than a whole story itself. Someone being able to see this and capitalize off of it. Minecraft PSX Archive is a channel that would start uploading in late December 2023, focused around documenting rare footage of the Lost Edition, posting everything from their own playthrough, the ripped OST, and TV spots. They started with their video, Minecraft PSX, the game you never heard of. The description reads as follows. Minecraft PlayStation Edition is a game developed by Mojang Studios in the year 1998 in a partnership with Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation console released in 1994. This game was a precursor to the classic Minecraft of 2009, although not many people are aware of it due to it being pulled from store shelves just a year after release, with only a 1,000 or so copies ever being sold. I was lucky enough to stumble upon a copy at a retro game store about a month ago. Here's my experience with the title. If you'd like to play the game for yourself via emulation, here's a link to the ROM download, as finding a physical copy like myself is nearly impossible to do. Thanks to XKazisCoolX for ripping the game files to allow others to play the game. Any help to learn more about the game would be appreciated, as I am still learning about it myself and plan to continue my exploration into the title more on this channel. The name of the person who is archiving these videos is never given to us directly through the uploads, but looking at the community tab tells us directly that this person's name is Alex. For simplicity's sake, this is how I'll be referring to them for the rest of the video. Right away, the description tells us immediately this video is going to take itself pretty seriously. There is no mention of this being an ARG or a mod pack. This is pure, unadulterated unfiction, and that is extremely intriguing. The ROM link, of course, just being a link to the CurseForge mod pack, and Kaz, as we know, being the mod pack creator, but being credited as the one who ripped the game files onto an emulator. Little world building present like this on this channel absolutely helps in building character, and I love it. This first video would be the most unique on the channel. While main entries going forward would be done entirely in a Let's Play format, format, this video starts more like a video essay, much like the one you're watching right now. Essentially just giving a brief introduction to the PlayStation 1 and talking about its lost game.
But what if I told you there's another title? Another title that almost no one has heard of. A title being called simply Minecraft.
Stumbling across the game at an old game store, thinking it was a homebrew, or just some sort of joke. But as we know, it was way more than that. Now, I would like to get it right out of the way that I don't believe this is meant to be the same person we followed in the story on the mod page. As stated previously, this doesn't seem to have any connection to the original creator, and is purely a fan work. But for how well it's done, I would really like to discuss it. Alex goes on to explain the case to us, giving the detail of the game being separated into 3 discs: the overworld, the slip, and the end. Something we already knew from playing the game ourselves. After analysis of the case, Alex decides to slip in the game himself. This is his documentation. Now, to not make this the exact same as my account, I'll typically only be going through key events of Alex's story, but since this is meant to tell a story, there's going to be a lot more to cover here than what I experienced in my personal playthrough. Noises of the PlayStation reading the disc play, as we are shown our title screen. Alex comments on how different everything feels, but still doesn't really seem to be all too fazed by the differences so far, having the biggest reaction to the keyboard of all things.
Okay, that's definitely not like Java Edition. That's different to even Bedrock Edition. Okay, let's see.
Skipping over the tutorial world for now, Alex names his world 1998, after the real release year of Minecraft, spawning in a tundra biome, and already being shocked at the inclusion of powdered snow. Alex gets settled with his controls and surroundings, talking to the audience about his continued amazement at this version of the game.
I'm in disbelief. I kind of just can't believe that this is a real thing. But let's go ahead and just get this pickaxe made right here.
In the middle of talking about how instead of getting new features, Mojang has only been getting the game back up into its original position, we find our first anomaly.
One thing I am noticing is this has a lot of newer features, which means that the whole time we were getting new content, Mojang were actually recycling old content from the scrapped version of the game, which is pretty insane. And I'm sure. Okay, well, we're not even that far in, and I've already found something kind of strange.
Alex stops dead in his tracks. Now, we also had found one of these 2x2 tunnels before, so we already know what this means. For some reason, this is where Alex decides to set up his base. We got a really smart protagonist for this one, fellas. Not too much of importance happens during this time, and it starts to get dark. Alex hastily finishes his house for the first night. With not too much to do in his time, Alex just leaves while the night finishes. Like, he literally just walks away and leaves.
Okay, I really need to go to the toilet, and this is probably a bad time to do so, but I'm gonna go do that real quick.
The footage here becomes very unnoteworthy as we wait for Alex to get back. But around the end, we actually notice our first major anomaly. We hear the disc reading itself once again from the recording, the game starting to glitch and warp, and for a single frame, we see this. Did you catch that? Let's freeze on it. Eyes. Bright, luminescent eyes staring at us from the darkness. Not even 20 minutes into our playthrough, and we already know we're not alone. And of course, Alex doesn't even know yet. A few more minutes pass, and Alex finally returns to play the game. The rest of the video is pretty uneventful. Night ends, a mine is started, and some minor exploration and world building is done. But after Alex discovered the power of the sort button, we're thrown one more surprise before the end of the video.
Oh, there's a sort button. I didn't even see this. Why is this not in Java Edition or better?
We hear the sound of a door opening, then seemingly both the game and the recording crash. We're brought back to the main menu, Alex explaining this to be the case.
Okay, I don't know what happened, but, my recording crashed.
He says he's going to end a recording here, but that he would continue documenting his experience in the future. And with that, the first video on Minecraft PSX Archive ends. Now, if you are vaguely familiar with this project, this is likely where your curiosity peaked. This video performed substantially better than any installment that would come after, which is honestly a really big shame. As for we'll see, the world building and mystery behind this account would only build as the installments progressed. If you have made it this far into the video, I would really love to see you all send some love to this ARG's way. It's currently unfinished and hasn't had a new installment in a while, so I would absolutely love to see this get more attention it deserves. And hopefully, we can see that sometime soon. But, alas, we continue to episode 2. I woke up after not getting much sleep and decided to continue my journey into this mysterious copy of Minecraft. Let's see how it goes. We start off not getting into the gameplay immediately, but with a word from Alex.
Put a bit of, like, an intro on this. This game has been genuinely fucking with my head. This is only my second play session, and still, it's just destroying me.
He continues to explain how, ever since playing the game, he has been in severe distress, having trouble sleeping. He ends off the intro with these words.
I don't even know. I've been having trouble sleeping. I didn't think it would get this bad.
We cut into the startup screen for the PlayStation, audibly hearing freezes and jitters as the game loads. Booting back into the world, Alex seems to be a lot more talkative than last episode, continuing to explain how he feels like he's being watched.
I will say, one thing I have noticed, like, every time I play this, this version of the game, I always, like, have this sense of, like, I feel like I'm being watched.
And not long after saying this happens.
But, I want to try and make as much progress as I possibly can today. That actually scared the fuck out of me. I'm not even gonna front like that. Jesus, what the fuck was that?
Alex, audibly confused and afraid, exits back to the title screen, booting back into the world and hiding away in their house. And although not moving an inch, here's someone walking outside of the cabin.
No. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can play this game anymore.
Despite showcasing obvious concern, he still decides to press on. Alex takes this as a wonderful time to continue the mineshaft, while he's talking about the state of his PS1, but I feel like that would quickly become the least of his worries.
I really feel like I shouldn't have fucked with this tunnel. No. I can't.
Booting back to the menu, Alex takes some time to process what had just happened, before somewhat collecting his bearings and deciding to continue playing despite everything happening. Alex monologues about how on edge he is for a little longer while digging deeper into the mineshaft, but decides to take a breather eventually and get some water, deciding not to stay in the world this time. Good job, you're learning gradually. Though, the menu screen may not have been that safe either. This leaves us with another really long pause, meaning something is likely going to happen once more while Alex is gone. We hear the faint sounds of the PS1 once more, then hear the sound of something falling over. The cursor on screen moving as this happens, meaning it was likely Alex's controller. After this, the screen then cuts out several times. Silence is continued for a few more minutes, but Alex eventually returns, returning to his world.
Okay, I have come back to my controller having fell.
After this, nothing else of note really happens other than pure unadulterated paranoia, my favorite! All until loud static startles our player, causing them to finally end the session.
I'm suddenly... I can't do it anymore.
So far, even if this hadn't been the most eventful Minecraft ARG ever, it is certainly very creative in the way it's executed. Because of the way PSX is set up, the majority, if not all of the events that aren't directly added in post by the uploader have to be improvised. Which, when considering how real Alex's reactions feel when hearing the pack's random noises or when encountering Herobrine, is extremely impressive, while also considering that the creator so far still seems to be an amateur. Integrating random events like this into your ARG to follow a cohesive story certainly doesn't seem like an easy task, so I commend the effort on that front greatly. The video fades to black, but it doesn't end right away, leaving us with... The footage is grainy, and it's really hard to make anything out in the static, but something that likely immediately caught your eye was that URL at the top. If you were to search this URL, we're taken to a secret video. Pre-release footage, 22/02/1998. An anonymous source was able to provide some pre-release footage on the tutorial world in Minecraft PlayStation Edition. Very interesting stuff in here. I don't know if the world is ready to see this yet. Maybe don't go posting it anywhere. The source. If you found this, good. I think the world is ready. Some of the first authentic footage of Minecraft PSX recorded through an old camcorder. This video being the only one to really showcase the tutorial world Alex had glossed over. Although we're given the date in the title, the camcorder also gives it to us, along with the time of play, being 3:07 AM. A time that seems to stay pretty consistent during the 23-minute long video. For the first 5 minutes, nothing much of note happens. Our player chops down the tree, finishes off the iconic tutorial world spawn dilapidated house, and wanders around for a little bit, finally deciding to venture out of spawn. After playing around with some of the tutorial world features, such as the farm, our player makes their way to the blacksmith, using bottles of enchanting to enchant and name a sword he found. But unfortunately, the footage is too grainy to exactly make out what they named the sword. It's also key to note that a clear buffer takes place here. Not much happens again after a while, unless you want to count our player setting a villager on fire, but he also buys a pickaxe from a toolsmith. This is actually kind of important. Our player keeps exploring, eventually walking through a bridge, encountering one of the sanity creatures. Now, although we have an explanation as to what these are already, they have not been explained yet in the ARG, so this could actually have the potential of being a pretty big moment. Our player finds themselves at an unfinished beacon, but instead of finishing it, decides to just harvest the gold present. The sun starts to set, but this doesn't really deter our player, deciding to return to the spawn village and dig a hole into the ground. They are doing this because they spotted something they want, using the dirt accumulated to climb up to a fire pillar and take the slipstone from it. They attempt to repeat this again, but got attacked by a spider and are forced to restart. To make the process easier, they steal a bed and decide to sleep. With a new day dawned, they return to their mission, collecting 3 more pieces of slipstone. Rainfall starts, as our player continues to examine their surroundings. A lot of running and seemingly mindless exploration takes place after this, a lot of it being through water, but our player would seemingly find a way to get what they were looking for. gravel. And there's typically only one reason you'd ever look for gravel: getting the flint they needed and crafting a flint and steel. Looking at their inventory, you may know where this is going. Gold blocks are placed around a frame with a single mossy cobblestone in the middle, followed up by 4 redstone torches and a single slipstone block set ablaze. After creating the structure, our player sits back. We hear an incomprehensible noise start playing in the background, the footage slightly getting hit with a tint of red, and our player just continues to stand. The video ends with breathing. It's no secret who this is meant to be. If you have any knowledge of classic Minecraft folklore, you know exactly who this shrine is meant to be for. For now, it's still ambiguous if this is meant to imply Herobrine used to be an actual feature to the game, or if he was just a catalyst that summoned the ghost in the machine. So much of this ARG's continuity has been left vague so far, and I am genuinely a really big fan of its approach. With how focused our player characters seem to be in this old footage, I have the will to believe that this was something they might have been told to do, giving leeway to this being an actual spirit rather than a forgotten gameplay feature. I believe the gameplay taking place at 3 AM is also meant to be another giveaway to this. This was a deliberate ritual, one that may have left unforeseen consequences going forward. Alex would take a break from uploading raw documentation at this time, but that doesn't mean the next 3 videos aren't interesting. We start with Minecraft PSX anti-piracy screen, a 1-minute video showcasing, well, an anti-piracy screen for Minecraft PSX, meant to pay homage to the 2021 trend. At first, I thought this was a solely original thing created by PSX Archive, but during my time playing, I actually had to go into the files of the mod profile, and lo and behold, it's right there. I'm not sure if there's a special thing you can do to trigger this happening in-game, or if PSX Archive just created a video around this image, but regardless, it's pretty neat. The second non-gameplay upload that would be put on the channel would be Minecraft PSX 1998 trailer. This video showcasing an archived TV spot for the original trailer of Minecraft. Since this upload is only a little more than a minute long, I'll let this one speak for itself.
Let's go to a place where everything is made of block.
Where the only limit is your imagination.
Let's go wherever you want to go.
Climb the tallest mountains.
Venture down to the darkest caves. Build anything you want. Day or night, rain or shine.
This is the most significant sandbox.
You'll ever set foot in. Build a majestic castle.
Invent a new machine, or take a ride on a roller coaster.
Play with friends. Build your own little community. Protect yourself with the strongest armor that you can craft. And fight off the dangers of the night. No one can tell you what you can or cannot do, with no rules to follow. This adventure, it's up to you.
Again, if you are knowledgeable of Minecraft's past and history, you might have been able to immediately notice this is almost a one-to-one creation of the original Minecraft trailer. This time with a different narrator and slightly different scenes. There's a lot of noticeable differences, especially around the end, showing more parallels to our reality and this divergent other timeline. I thought nothing was too off about this, but you can hear breathing at the very end. end. The third upload on the channel would start the gradual uploading of the game's OST. These don't really hold any lore significance to my knowledge, and we've already covered the OST, so we'll skip these uploads. Occasionally, Alex will leave little descriptions on the song that give a little more insight to their place in the game, but as stated previously, they're not really important. If you want to read these, I suggest you go visit the channel yourself and look through them. Drop a sub if you can too. As I said, I would love this ARG to get more attention. Now getting to episode 3. Alex gives us a disclaimer at the beginning and says that his mic malfunctioned during the recording of this episode, so we aren't given any commentary.
So before this video starts, I kind of hate to say this, but this is gonna be a different video, at least a different type of video, because something caused my mic to just not work for the entirety of this recording.
This makes this video the least eventful out of the bunch in my opinion, as we can't directly hear what the player is feeling. Thankfully, not that much happens in this video. He finds some more emeralds, goes caving for a bit, and it generally feels like it's going to be a relatively normal playthrough. Though, almost 11 minutes in, this happens. This scared the shit out of me. It seemed to have Alex too, as he literally does not move for a whole minute after this. He decides to get out of the mines and do some more base expansion with the rest of his time, and it starts to feel like things may have somewhat got back to normalcy again. But, of course, these periods only last for so long in PSX. Nightfall emerges, and Alex takes his time to do some nighttime exploring. And although some parts do get a little tense, it's not really anything you can't also experience in vanilla Minecraft. But things start to get a little different once he gets cornered into a water cave, and is forced to escape into the walls. It's here that we get our first real taste of the sanity mod at work in this playthrough. The whispers gradually get louder, fake noises become more frequent. Alex, not knowing what to do in this situation, just continues to stay put in the crevice that he had dug himself in. After a while, this eerie but somewhat comforting music also kicks in too, as if the world is trying to give a semblance of an outlet to the current circumstances. One commenter pointing out it sounds like it would be a 9 Inch Nails track, which is really funny to me. Once Alex finally emerges, it is now daytime in his world. Noise is not stopping. Making it back to his house, he exits, and the video ends. Not much happens in this installment, unfortunately. I feel like there was likely a lot more that was meant to happen, and that the mic was genuinely an error on the uploader's part, so this serves mainly as just a filler episode this time around. But thankfully, this was completely made up for in the next video uploaded on the channel, titled Unknown World 2609-1977. We're met with another greeting from Alex, telling us how we're going to take a break from the documentation on his world to explore a new corrupted world file that has shown up in his worlds folder.
So I've just woken up like right now, and get on the game again. Even though like every time I get on, I feel incredibly uneasy, but I want to get on, and I want to specifically look at that new corrupted world file that's shown up. So I think let's get right to it.
The world being titled 1997-09-26, being last opened May 17th, 1999. It also has strangely seemed to replace the tutorial world. Alex loads into the world, spawning in what seems to be a road. Walking slightly further reveals a house. A very modern looking house, if the car was anything to give it away. Heading inside reveals the space to be extremely detailed, with a fully furnished living room fit with retro technology and furniture, all made in the confines of base Minecraft blocks. The same can be said for the kitchen. The house is very professionally made, especially if we were to believe this was made in a time before many of the building tricks shown off were even remotely close to being mainstream, meaning the person who had built this needed to have a deep understanding on how Minecraft worked in 1999. Alex explores the kitchen and the living room some more, looking through all the cupboards and storage containers, finding a pantry that has different assortments of boxes, one of which being a sweets container, which seems to be missing 3 cookies. Remember this detail, as it becomes a little important later. Alex briefly explores the garage. There's nothing really that interesting in there, aside from this desk that we see to the side. The garage also works as an entrance to the backyard of the house, sporting a grill, which, again, uses extremely creative block choices, and shows a deep understanding on how the items in this game work. Nothing else is really that of note here, so we go back inside. We walk into what looks like a girl's room, showcasing some very interesting details, such as this music disc being on the dresser and boots lying on the floor next to the bed. Having a chest with a very peculiar assortment of items, such as a glow stick, flowers, and horse armor, likely to represent horse toys. It's safe to assume whoever's room this belongs to is likely fairly young. Moving to the bathroom, there are also some things of note in this area. A lot more clothes on the ground, candles lit, but most notably, a potion sitting on the bathtub. It's hard to tell exactly what it is, but by the color, it looks to be a potion of nausea. It's not too much of a stretch to assume this is meant to represent alcohol. This leads our way back into what looks like the master bedroom of the house, fit with more boots on the ground and an old computer. This is the last room of the first floor, but we're far from done yet. There's a basement to this house that has not been explored yet. Alex stumbling on it while making one final scan of the area. The first and most notable thing about this room is the TV, with, well, you know, the 3 cookies from earlier. It looks like the TV is connected to a gaming console as well, and with the date of the map being set to 1977, it seems like a deliberate way to tell us this is meant to be an Atari 2600. The rest of the basement is fit with a furnace room, and one more bedroom. This room looks to belong to another small kid, likely being a boy this time around. Toys and drawings littered the floor and desk, even having their own personal bathroom. Like, goddamn, this kid was bawling. Alex notices the detail of the cookies missing being the same ones from the cabinet earlier, pointing out how specific of a detail that is. Alex says a very important line here as well.
I really don't know how this has gotten in my game, but I feel like this is something that someone wanted me to see.
Going back into the house to search through more of the cupboards, we find 2 drawers with an assortment of clothes, a singular outfit missing in both. We see the purple one laying on the floor in the bathroom, but we don't know where the white one could be. With this being in the master bedroom, it could be safe to assume that these clothes belong to the parents of the family. Alex ends the exploration explaining how these did not appear on his memory card, likely meaning this world, like the tutorial world, had to have been hard-coded into the game. Still sounding confused, Alex ends the video, saying he'll continue his personal world in the next installment. So far, this is without a doubt the most interesting installment to come from this series. There are so many little details to pick up from what is shown in this house. The missing cookies, the clothes, the Atari 2600, the bottle in the bathroom. And if you're versed in internet horror like this, something like what we had just saw shouldn't be that alien to you, as this strikes major similarities to the myhouse.wad Doom mod. And if it's anything like that, this is likely not the last time we will be seeing this world. With how oddly specific the details are, the date is, and just how professional the whole build feels, the working theory I have right now is that this is meant to represent a developer and an old, potentially traumatic memory they had in childhood. We move on to Minecraft PSX Documentation 4. Back to the same world we have been accustomed to this entire time. We aren't met with an intro from Alex, but with a lot of buffering on the title screen. This is far from the only anomaly on the startup, though. Listen to the disk reading sound. At first, I really didn't think much of this, but compared to the sounds that we've been used to up until this point, no, there was something special about the way this disc was being read. This was Morse code. If you decipher it, you get this message. You're in too deep. Alex then finally greets us by thanking us for how much traction and support the channel has been receiving lately.
Before I actually get like properly started today, I just want to thank everyone for the fucking insane amount of support on the channel over the last week.
And he integrates it to being in-universe by saying he's glad that these videos are bringing attention to this old version of the game.
I can't say thank you enough, and also I'm just glad to be bringing so many people's attentions to this version of the game, because like I said, pretty much no one seems to know about it, and I want to spread awareness about it. I want people to know about it. I want to figure out why this was covered up. So
Alex brings up how the whispering from last episode still hasn't stopped, but becoming more adapted to how this version of the game works, pays little to no mind to it, and says he just wants to get more diamonds. If there is one thing a spectral entity can't prevent, it's a man's Minecraft grind. This episode is heavily focused around mining, continuing down his mine shaft, shrugging off every creepy sound like a champ.
nope.
But whoever's behind the scenes likely notices this attitude and decides to take a more direct approach.
You're fucking kidding.
I really wish more creepypasta ARG protagonists were this vocal. Briefly returning to the surface to build a new pickaxe, Alex returns to the mines and continues, but notices the cave looks like it has changed since the last time he was down.
What the fuck? Why is this here? Also, wait, what the fuck? Wasn't I mining somewhere else? Wait, what? Like, wasn't I just in a different cave?
Confused by this, he decides to start in a different section. Continuing mining, a sanity creature appears, spooking Alex enough to retreat from the mines for now. But when it also appears on the staircase, he needs to head back down once again. Finally getting past, we head back to the house where Alex bunkers down, not moving an inch. All until... The screen stays black for quite some time, slowly hearing a heartbeat fade in and out from the darkness. Amounting to the footage coming back, Alex giving his outro. The footage corrupts once more, and this time, we're given much more direct Morse code. Deciphering this reveals this to be the message. You can't save him now. This installment is very interesting for a variety of reasons. For one, Alex seems to be getting more used to the way this world acts and how to go about treating it, becoming more accustomed to the noises and whispering, mentioning getting numb to it. But that same resistance doesn't seem to be built up on physical encounters. The PlayStation itself speaking to us in Morse code almost all but confirms there to be something more going on here than just an old, creepy Minecraft feature. I think we can all confidently say we are dealing with a ghost hiding in this game's code. Moving into episode 5, hopefully more of these questions will be answered. Returning to the world, the whispers from the last episode still have not stopped. Deciding to commit to making progress today, Alex leaves the area of his base entirely, in a way to hopefully avoid the static creature following him. But this is quickly shown not to work, following him everywhere. In the overworld, in caves, everywhere we are currently going, the static follows. Finally having enough, Alex decides to attack it. Things continue to get even stranger. Animals have completely turned black with white eyes, the static becoming entirely hostile now, ultimately leading up to...
No.
As we know, an event like this is somewhat of a blessing in disguise, and we can actually see real progress happen now. Returning to the caves, Alex continues strip mining at diamond level. This footage is sped up, and not much progress seems to be made for a while. But 8 minutes in, he finally finds more diamonds. But unfortunately, it's not enough for a pick. With a little more mining, we do eventually find one more vein, ultimately leaving this cave with 7 diamonds. Finding a lava pool and deciding to get the amount of obsidian needed to build a slip portal, mentioning that this will be the first time that we'll have to switch discs in order to enter the slip. On his way back out of the mines, we hear what almost sounds like a pillager. Random ice spawning from somewhere inside of the staircase.
Wait, what the fuck?
Behind him, our good friend, the Iceologer.
What the fuck? Who are you? Oh, it's an Iceologer.
He goes down without much of a fight, but his existence is still an amazement to Alex. Not being able to sleep, he decides to build a room under his house to place his nether portal, lighting it and entering. This episode was definitely a lot more progression-focused than story-focused. After the static killed Alex in the beginning, there was very little interruption from any abnormal beings, unless you want to count the Iceologer. It would be at around this time that the archive would start posting another series on the channel, titled Minecraft PSX Archive Raw Footage 1. The description reading, "My girlfriend recently decided to join the archival effort by recording her experience of the game running on ePSXe, Enhanced PSX Emulator. Oddly enough, the only PSX emulator that can run Minecraft PSX. Here are her experiences." This series is a lot more laid back than the base one Alex has going on, not seeming to have much of a story purpose, more serving as a way to document actual footage of the mod pack. Though I will say his girlfriend seems to be a lot less spooked by the scary stuff included, so I think we can guess who wears the pants in this relationship. I'll be skipping any other subsequent entries in this side series, as, again, it doesn't really serve to add anything to the overarching narrative. So, we'll simply be moving on to episode 6 of Alex's experience. Right away, starting with a special intro from Alex.
So before we start today, I actually have to talk to you guys about something. This is probably the most interesting bit of information I've received since I've started the channel, and yeah, I think it would be safe to say that this is very interesting, to say the least. So as some of you know, I was supposed to upload this video yesterday, but I ended up being busy. Turns out being busy was actually a blessing in disguise, because I got an interesting email yesterday. So, let's pull it up.
He goes on to show this emailer's photo of the PAL release of Minecraft PSX, looking to be a lot more cheery and polished than the case we're used to, leading Alex to theorize that he may be in the possession of either an earlier build or even a prototype of the game. But what is pointed out to be the most interesting part of this game is the copyright date and other legal information.
So you can see a bunch of copyright stuff, Minecraft, Creeper, Steve, and all other Minecraft related properties. Copyright of, once again, Dan Jack. But the most interesting thing to me, right here, is all rights reserved, Brian's Block Engine, 1997. So, that then confirms that the engine for the game is called Brian's Block Engine, and it was made in 1997.
Brian's block engine is a really interesting detail. I don't think I need to tell you what the name Brian sounds like or what it could be confused with. This likely giving us a huge detail for later, possibly the biggest detail to piecing together this puzzle, but we'll save the discussion around that for later. Alex goes on to show us the discs of the PAL version, throwing in a brief comment on how the disc seems to be in much better condition than the original, but unfortunately, the disc itself doesn't seem to work. He shows off the other discs for the slip and the end as well, but like the Overworld disc, there's not much to say here, other that in this universe, there are more people aware of what they have, especially with there only supposedly being 1,000 copies in circulation. After this, we finally hop into episode 6. Preparing to enter the slip, Alex crafts some diamond armor and travels into the dimension. After changing discs, he immediately gets attacked by a ghast, as well as something a little more unusual. Attention is quickly taken off of this, however, as we are directed to look at the fortress right in front of us. I guess Alex also has immaculate luck like me. This luck seems to run very thin, however, as a howling static attacks.
Whoa! What the fuck? Jesus!
And knocks Alex off a ledge, tallying up the second death in this playthrough. Switching discs back to the overworld, then back to the slip. Alex goes on to retrieve his stuff with the howling entity still being there. So we just go back to the overworld and avoid the slip for now. Instead of focusing on that, this episode is now dedicated to giving the house a much needed makeover. Venturing out for sand, Alex finds a sign that wasn't too far from his base. The sign reading Tita Kring Ding. This is Swedish, and when translated, it reads, "Look around you." It's unknown if this is a threat, advice, or some other piece of information. For now, Alex writes it off and continues looking for sand. Building for the house goes without a hitch, and we are left with something that looks a lot better than the shack that we've been subjected to for 6 episodes. This episode was a lot more laid back, and I think that was by design, considering how huge the intro was this time around. Like I said, the things implied through that email will be huge to figuring out the secrets of this game, but as stated previously, we'll save speculation for the end of the video. For now, let's continue to episode 7. This installment continues with more house renovation, this time working on the basement. Mapping out an enchanting room setup, heading out to look for sugarcane, finally finding some, and even finding some friends along the way. Heading back home, Alex returns to the caves as he's running very low on iron, though he may have caused too much noise.
Jesus Christ. Oh my fucking god! Run, 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 run.
One of his dogs would end up dying in this excavation, not even getting the iron he attempted to get. Seeing this as a good time to take a break, Alex leaves to go get some food, with the game still on, unpaused. I think you all know what this means by now. Half of the way through, we start to hear a really weird noise. This isn't Morse code, but it still could be a code. We'll come back to this, as I believe we should let the episode finish first. After sitting for a while longer, the game stutters once more, flickering in and out, changing the camera perspective we were originally in. Not long after this, Alex comes back and explained this happened because his controller once again fell on the floor.
Okay, so I am back. My controller fell on the floor again, so that's always fun. Yeah, I'm back, but I actually have food now, so I am going to go ahead and eat that.
Alex stops recording for now and decides to go eat. Returning to the cave the warden was originally in, looking for some more iron to start a sugarcane farm with. This also caused his second dog to die.
I think my dog is gonna die. Yeah, I think my dog just died.
Starting the farm and building the table, the rest of the episode is dedicated primarily to fighting mobs and finding a replacement dog. Mob fighting does happen, but no dog is found, ending the episode on a fairly bitter note. On the surface, this seems like another uneventful, progression-centric episode. And, well, it is, but not entirely. If you are paying attention, I have faith that you remember that weird sound that played while Alex was AFK. As mentioned previously, this is not Morse code, but it's something else that can be deciphered. Running this through a spectrogram, we are given this. A link, hiding away. Going to this link takes us to a video simply titled 20:01:24. The description being more Morse code. Translating what's given to us gives this message. I tried to warn him. Do not make the same mistake. The video itself is 3 minutes long and features no commentary footage of Alex's world. Right away, the base is noticeably different, with vines growing on the inside of the house. The whispers from previous episodes start to get louder once more. Alex crafts a flint and steel and ventures outside of his house, burning down the surrounding forests around him. The whispers and voices getting louder as a result. The screen begins to red, leading up to a deafening crash. This ends up causing a fatal error for the PlayStation 1. After the console reboots, we're taken to the PlayStation's menu screen. I honestly don't know what to make of this video. Despite this clearly being in Alex's perspective, I don't believe this is actually him. For one, when the fatal error occurs, it states the time to be 3:07 a.m., the same time presented in the tutorial world video all the way back in episode 2. Alex has not played the game this late ever, the latest he's played being 12 a.m. Second, this act just seems very out of character for Alex to do, especially given that there's no commentary as well. So, this could be one of three things. Either A, this was actually Alex, and he decided to do this in his world and hide it in one of the gameplays. B, it's the same person who played the tutorial world all the way back in 1998. Or C, this is Herobrine himself doing this. What's less clear is the motive as well. Why did he burn down the surrounding area and not, like, I don't know, Alex's house? This is a very strange hidden installment to the lore being built here, and I am really curious to see what implications this could mean for future installments. We don't continue directly into episode 8 after this. Instead, taking another detour to visit the unknown world once again. The reason being because the world name has changed from 2609-1977 to 0106-1979. A significant day in Minecraft history, Notch's birthday. Alex points this out, but seems to be unaware of this being Notch's birthday. Loading back into the world, we notice clear differences. Blue balloons and banners surround the outside of the house, and the inside of the house too. It should be clear given the context that this is meant to be a birthday celebration of some sorts. Heading back down to the basement of the boys' room, we can see it's a lot more cleaned up now, with the addition of a baby's crib. Alex doesn't seem to understand what any of this is meant to represent, and logs off. This installment is huge, and directly confirms Notch does have something to do with the creation of Minecraft PSX. Using information that we can gather from real life, Notch did grow up in a house that looks eerily similar to the one presented in PSX, being single story and having a garage on the left side. We also know that Notch had an older sister, and we see a girl's room presented in the house on the upper floor. That just leaves the crib put in the other boy's room in the basement. This boy presumably being Notch's brother, but Notch never had a brother, right? We move on to episode 8 of Alex's playthrough, stating the main goal of this episode is to get some progress done on the bookshelves. Loading in, Alex is immediately surprised by the fire that took place during the secret episode, confirming that he himself was not the culprit for the forest fire.
Wait. Whoa. Okay, what the f is happening? What the fuck? Jesus Christ! Wait. How the f is everything on fire?
In the hysteria, phantoms also start spawning in and show their tendency to take things. Starting off the episode pretty baffled, Alex tries to not let this get to them too much, and focuses primarily on just getting more paper for their books. They also have the idea to start a cow farm and go venturing out for some. He also gets a new dog in this time. Let's hope it does not meet the same fate as the other two. Unfortunately, the search for cows is unsuccessful, as a real-life occurrence cuts the session short.
Oh my god, what the f is that? Oh wait, fuck, that's not the game.
Alex's smoke alarm starts going off, dropping everything to check on it. He leaves the game going, and, like always, the game crashes, ending the episode. This is significant for many reasons. As proven numerous times now, whatever spirit may be haunting Alex is capable of controlling things in the real world. If they are powerful enough to do things such as control the game while he's asleep, there's also the chance that it could also be powerful enough to start a fire and set off his smoke detector. Whether or not something was actually burning is still left ambiguous, and we transition to episode 9. Hopefully for some answers. Alex greets us as soon as we're back to the title screen, and explains to us the unfortunate circumstances of last episode, telling us that there actually was a fire in the kitchen. The weirdest part being nobody knows what caused it. Nobody was even in the kitchen at the time of it going off. It just happened.
The end of last episode was a little unfortunate. There was actually a fire in the kitchen. Everyone's fine. It's all good. We're all okay. It just randomly happened, and the strangest thing is there was nothing in it. The microwave is not being used. It just, I don't know if it was faulty wiring or something. We're gonna have someone come on and have a look at the wiring and see if everything's okay.
Before we start off this next session, someone on the comments of a previous episode had told Alex to check the screenshots folder. We already know about this screenshot, and he seems to agree with our theory of this also being Herobrine's mansion. Other than that, there's not much else to make of what this screenshot could be. Alex explains that his goal in this episode would be to check out the Nether once again, as the goal is to beat the game. Nothing much of note happens in the first half. Alex dies to a wither skeleton, and he has to re-enter into the Nether. Fighting off some of the wither skeletons and blazes, Alex hears a lovely noise and decides to politely leave.
Okay, cool. I'm starting to miss the more modern generation. No, we're leaving. The fuck was that? I'm leaving. No, please. I just want to leave. Please, if I do... Oh! I'm stuck here.
Alex attempts to relight the portal, and it actually succeeds. Good on it too, as the creature that had been hunting him this entire time emerges just as he's about to leave, leaving Alex the most scared I think he has ever been playing this game.
What the fuck are you? I don't like the Nether in this version. I feel lightheaded.
This panic doesn't subside for the rest of the episode, and Alex logs off for the night, sounding almost on the verge of tears by the end. Although this may not be the most eventful episode, the series clearly seems to be taking a toll on Alex by this point. That howling static chasing him down really seemed to trigger him more than anything else present in this game, even more than the Herobrine encounters, which have slowly started to become a lot more scarce. Not much else to say about this episode. so we can move on to episode 10. As usual, Alex greets us before we start the game once more, telling us that he had gotten another email from Arvo.
First, I'm gonna go ahead and mention that our good friend Arvo actually hit me with another email. He responded to my previous email, so I'm gonna go over what I sent him and what he sent back. So following the previous email where he sent me the pictures of Minecraft PSX edition, I went and responded by saying, "Hi Arvo, thanks for the email, and the pictures you attached were great. Are you able to provide any more info on the game? How long have you had it? When did you get it? Have you had any experience with it? Many thanks, Alex from the Minecraft PSX Archive." So yeah, I sent this a while ago now. It was the 17th of January. And just last week, we got a response from Arvo, and it reads, "Yes, hello. I had this one from before my family leaves in Austria. I did sing this game at the bookstore, and I buy it, but the man did not take the money from me since he could not scan it. Then I finished to home, but the disc doesn't function. Perhaps I can learn from emulation and provide you the ROMs. But I believe you are to risk to continue this story from what I viewed in your videos."
Arvo includes in his email that he feels concerned for Alex and how his behaviors seem to be in some of the documentations. Though Alex dismisses this and continues to say that he just wants to get to the bottom of this. So the documentation shall continue, though they do say episodes may slow down soon. Alex then goes on to explain a strange experience he had the night he logged off last recording when he was trying to sleep, saying that he may have experienced a form of sleep paralysis.
Now, the second topic is actually just something frightening that happened to me recently. So, a couple nights ago, I was struggling to sleep, as usual, but when I finally did get to sleep, it didn't last very long, because in the middle of the night, maybe about 2:30 a.m., maybe 3, I'm not really sure, I woke up, but I wasn't really awake. It's gonna be kind of extremely strange to explain what I'm talking about here, but basically, I think I had a form of sleep paralysis. So to like fully explain what happened, I felt myself like wake up in the middle of the night, and I couldn't move. I couldn't actually open my eyes. My eyes were still closed. I couldn't do anything. I was completely still, but I felt like I was awake, and I could feel I was there, if that makes sense. I could feel how I was laying in the bed, and because of the way I could like feel that, I could picture in my mind how I was laying, where I was laying, all that kind of thing. I knew where I was, and I was conscious that I was awake, but at the same time, I could not move my body. I could not open my eyes. I could not do any of that. And it wasn't quiet for very long, because from my left ear, which happened to be the ear that was resting on the pillow, like that ear was resting on my pillow, and from that ear I started to hear faint mumbles in the distance, and as it got closer, I began to start hearing a voice, and I could make out properly that it was like this almost sounded like a radio ad. It was a very crackly like sounding voice, and it just kind of sounded like your generic kind of radio advertisement voice. And that's when I heard the voice come closer. Like, it felt like it was coming closer. And what I heard was a voice saying, "And remember, always check the woods." And immediately after he said that, the check the woods part started repeating until it was getting louder and louder and louder, until it got to the point where it was peaking the mic very clearly, becoming more aggressive, and then I woke up, like, fully. During that, as it was building up, it scared me a lot, so I was trying my best to move, to get up, to open my eyes, to do anything, but I could not. Like, I genuinely just couldn't. And when I did get up, I panicked, and I did not go back to sleep that night. Because I couldn't. But it has led me to think, maybe I should check the woods around my Minecraft home.
And that would be the objective of today's episode. Wasting no more time, Alex uses this episode to start exploring the woods. He stumbles upon some weird world gen, but doesn't stick around it for too long. Though this is to no avail, and Alex decides to just make some Eyes of Ender, and hopefully find a stronghold. He goes to start looking for it with the limited eyes he had, but he had a very unexpected death along the way. The path to getting his stuff back is too treacherous, it seems, and we get our first rage quit of the series.
I'm fucking done with this game, dude. I'm not fucking playing this game anymore, man. I can't. Fuck's sake, man.
I feel it though. Powdered Snow was a mistake even in 1998. The episode has a very long fade out, but at the channel end screen, we're recommended something very interesting. Check the woods.mp4. Well, let's watch it. The video starts with several slideshow shots of the surrounding woods, each one having this mosaic, compressed look to them. One of the screenshots even featuring, well, you know who. This picture shows up again later in the video, the music starting to distort even more. We see a shot of Alex's loot from the last episode still in the cave. We then see more shots of the gravesite, the cobblestone present and all. The screenshots start to become more personal by this point, with them getting closer and closer to Alex's house. And through the window, we see a Steve skin inside of his house. For the rest of the video, we zoom in on this one photo, slowly fading to black. It stays quiet for quite some time, until the silence is broke. We hear a voice speak out to us.
And remember, always check the woods.
There is something important about the surrounding woods of Alex's house. We take a break from the world for the next two installments, both being focused on the corrupted house once again, as the date has changed once more, now being read as 26/12/1983, the day after Christmas, and 4 years since we have last seen the world. This episode wasn't started because a commenter pointed it out like last time. Instead, Alex noticed it himself. Of course, with it being a day after Christmas, the world is a lot more festive than last time, with snow littering the ground and festive-colored redstone lamps scattered on the house. Alex brings up the theory of this meaning to show the early life of Notch, all but confirming this to be the case.
So I saw some people saying that this is probably Notch's sister's room, and some people were saying that, like, the last one was the birth date of Notch. I guess this is kind of like documenting Notch's like home life before he developed the game.
Most of the decor seems to be the same, with no major changes to be seen yet, though the bottle in the bathroom from last time is now empty. The basement of the house is where the Christmas tree is residing, with wrapping paper and scissors being present on the table next to it. Walking into the boys' room, we notice a new computer. Notch's crib has now also been replaced with a traditional bed, and other than that, those are really the only noticeable changes. Heading back upstairs, Alex briefly picks up one of the potions we've seen around the house, confirming they are nausea potions. Again, continuing my hypothesis that this is in fact meant to parallel alcohol. Alex would call the episode here, but would follow this video immediately with more footage of the house, now being 3 years in the future. Loading back into the world, we notice some innocuous differences, such as updated furniture, food on the counter, and a potato cooking on the stove. The upstairs bathroom is also clean this time, and there's an empty bottle present in the parents' room as well. The room that has gotten the biggest change to it so far is of Notch's sister. The neon purples and pinks from last time being replaced with dark blacks, possibly meant to signify that she's a lot older now than previously. Empty bottles are also present in this room. The outdoors also has more going on this time. The grill is actually on. Making our way into the basement, as well as the boys' room, we can see that the two have both grown up a fair bit now. The colorful carpet being replaced, and the both now sporting their own computers. The chair from the other desk seemingly being placed over by notches. We also notice some fun details in their choice of wardrobe, though we'll talk about this more in a minute. We are now at our final documentation episode for now, and I'll tell you right now, if you were disappointed with the turnout of previous episodes, we end today on a pretty high note. Alex greets us as usual, and we finally head back into the survival world. Today's episode mostly focused on building up what was lost last time. Alex heading straight to the mines with what little gear he currently has. He emerges pretty quick, harvesting his sugarcane and venturing out into the woods for a little bit, finally finding what that voice may have been referring to.
I don't remember this being here. To be fair, I don't know if I've been out here.
A random staircase that has generated in the woods since we last checked. Inside actually resides a chest, along with a skeleton head and red candles. Inside the chest is just bones. Nothing but bones, but they seem to be in the shape of an arrow. Alex leaves it alone for now and returns home, going to the mines to search for iron like usual. After emerging with just one piece of iron, Alex once again gets bombarded by a plethora of mobs, and finally gets picked up by a phantom, causing him to fatally hit the ground. But upon impact, the game freezes once again. The footage cuts to black, music slowly fading in from the darkness, but alas, no visuals to accompany it. This goes on for quite some time, but once again, Morse code can be heard. The beeps come and go, likely spelling out an entire sentence. If we were to let it go on for the rest of the video, we eventually get this sentence.
I need your help. We need to stop it. I need you to know.
The tags actually seeming to finish out the message with,
I'm not the bad guy here.
Slowly and very faintly, we see eyes fade in from the darkness and static. The video abruptly cuts out, and with that, we conclude Minecraft PSX Archive for now. So, what did we just watch? With 10 episodes and 7 side videos, I think I can start to piece together what the story is here. Minecraft PSX tells a story we likely have heard before, but the way it executes it, the inspiration that it takes, and how much it relies on chance for it to work is what truly makes this special from a lot of other ARGs. The story isn't too difficult to follow if you've been paying attention, but we can of course recap. And I think I could also give my personal opinion on things, and theorize where this may potentially go. It's no secret that this story is meant to be a tale of Notch and Herobrine once more, but unlike a lot of other Herobrine related media, Notch is actually pretty involved with this one, being able to see his entire life story through updates to the 70s house. Obviously, this corrupted world is the earliest piece in the timeline, so starting here would be our best bet. The 1977 snapshot of the world actually doesn't tell us that much on the first glance, but with the added context and hindsight, gives us major clues at uncovering what this story could be telling us. As established before, the house features 4 notable rooms: the upstairs bathroom, the girls' bedroom, the master bedroom, and the basement bedroom. The 1977 snapshot doesn't show anything too of note, but establishes this family is made up of a mother, a father, a daughter, and a son. The exact same family structure Notch had growing up. Except it can't be Notch, as he wasn't born until 1979. One of the only other notable details in this world as of right now is the bathroom, with the mother's clothes on the floor and a potion of nausea present on the tub. Notch has been on record talking about his extremely troubled past. Both his mother and father have had a history of drug addiction and substance abuse, and came up in a slightly troubled childhood for it. With that in mind, it starts to become a little more clear as to exactly why this bottle had been placed here. Now, this is a detail that gets a little wishy-washy when it comes to putting in your ARG, and the debate on whether or not this is a moral choice to do is ultimately up to you. Although I can see this being seen as tasteless or a disrespectful inclusion, I do believe that it needs to be acknowledged that this is meant to be a divergent timeline, and the events that are shown here, although meant to represent some real people and events, are exaggerated retellings in order to fit into this story. Other analog and digital horror creators have gotten some pretty deserved flack for including stuff like this in their work recently, but I believe this doesn't fall into that category. This isn't here to slander any persons to make the story more spooky. I take it more as simply as an element that makes the story a little more real, and as a way to make connecting parallels easier. I know this was a long-winded tangent, but I thought it was important to at least acknowledge. Anyways, the information from this snapshot would kind of halt here. Moving on to the 1979 snapshot, Notch is born, and this is what this build primarily focuses on. There's balloons all over the outside and inside of the house, a birthday cake, and the basement bedroom now has an extra bed inside it, with trapdoors surrounding it, making it represent a crib. Notch has been born, and shares a room with his brother. Now, obviously, Notch never had a brother, but we all know the reason why he ever felt the need to state that already. The next snapshot would take place 4 years after the birth of Notch, and the day after Christmas. Snow litters the ground outside, and the house is fashioned with festive decor. The changes to the house are trivial other than that, outside of the boys' room, where we can see the most notable change so far. As we can see, Notch's brother was given a computer as his gift. As soon as we lay eyes on it, the screen glitches and static appears. It seems Notch's brother took an interest in computers first, and was supported by his family to take an interest in it, much like how Notch would be in the real world. Other than that, we can also see Notch has replaced the crib with a real bed. Nothing else is much of note about this room. Finally, we move on to the final episode of the Corrupted World for now, being June of 1986, 3 years since we have last checked in, and 3 days after Notch's 7th birthday. Again, the immediate changes seem to be fairly trivial, furniture being updated, food being on the counter, and the grill being on. But we can start to see something may be off when we find an empty bottle on the side of one of the parents' beds. Though the biggest change would by far be to the girls' room. All the traditional pinks and purples have been replaced with black. Black bed, black carpet, black sofa, and wither roses lining the dresser. But, of course, the most notable addition to this room would be the empty bottle, and potion of nausea present at the bed. As mentioned previously, the story of this house being updated mirrors the events and changes of the real world, and one of the most troubled people in the Person household was none other than Notch's sister. Being a teenage runaway who would devolve into a life of drugs and alcohol, not reconnecting with Notch again until years later. The change in room scenery, and obviously the bottles, being a dead giveaway this transformation has already happened. But, of course, the final big change comes from downstairs. And as we can see, Notch also now has his own computer. It also seems that whatever Notch had been getting to work with, his brother was also taking an interest in as well, with his chair now being on Notch's side of the room, either viewing what Notch had been getting up to, or teaching him how to use his computer. Although whose sides of the bedrooms is easy to deduct already, it becomes a dead giveaway as soon as we look at their wardrobes. Notch having a brown shirt and gray pants, mirroring his Minecraft skin, and his brother having a blue shirt and darker blue pants. Huh. As of right now, this is the last update to the corrupted world, but this final installment is without a doubt the most important one to piecing what's going on in this story together. We'll come back to this piece of information as there's still a lot of very important things to discuss. The second biggest piece of information given to us for the entire series comes from episode 6 of the main playthrough, where Arvo sends his first email to Alex, showcasing his PAL copy of Minecraft PSX. Something about the American release of the box Alex pointed out was the fact that the words were in enchanting table scripture, but the PAL version actually had legible words. Most of the words being recited from the old Minecraft trailer, but the most interesting findings of this case being the legal information, stating the game was not coded in Java, but Brian's block engine. Now, what I'm about to say may be calling shots a bit too early, but with this information and the information given to us by the corrupted world, I think I can start to piece together the early timeline of this universe. The Persons were a family of 4, a mother, a father, a daughter, and a son named Brian. In 1979, they would introduce the 6th member to their family, Marcus Person. Brian took an interest in computers at a young age, getting his first one at Christmas of 1983. 3 years later, Marcus would follow, getting his own computer as well, picking up an interest in programming just like his brother. Some time would pass, and the two would get older, and by the late 90s, Brian would have been in his early 20s at oldest, and Marcus wouldn't be too far behind, being in his late teens. Brian would build an engine for the PS1, an engine far ahead of its time, allowing you to generate an infinite amount of open worlds where you could mine, explore, build, and craft. This project would just get larger and larger in scope over time. New biomes, mobs, items, and blocks would be added at a rapid pace. Pre-generated structures, like villages, would also be added to populate the world, and the template for the player's skin would be based on Brian himself. All of this would either make the two form Mojang specifications, or get the attention of the then completely unknown studio. One way or another, this would get their game published to the PS1. Things seem to be working out almost like a dream for the duo, but of course, tragedy would strike one way or another. Brian, either due to a tragic accident or deliberate force, would be taken out of the picture. The project sat dormant for more than a decade, until Marcus found fit to build the project from the ground up. This would lead to the domino effect that would build an empire. Marcus's rebuilt game would finally get the attention it deserved in '98, going on to become a cultural phenomenon, and one of the largest pieces of media, not just in gaming, but in the world. To this day, Marcus denies the possibility of him ever having a brother, and Minecraft for the PlayStation 1 is buried, never to be acknowledged by Notch or modern Mojang. The reason being? Well, Brian never left. Whether it be through divine punishment, happenstance, or just through the passionately bitter will to live, Brian would immortalize himself into his code. Not long after, a beta tester would get their hands on the pre-release version of Minecraft, and was tasked to play the game at 3 a.m. on February 22nd, 1998. Here, he would build a statue out of gold, moss, redstone torches, and slipstone. This would be the catalyst for everything to come. It's unknown what happened to this beta tester after this footage was taken, but one thing is for certain. Whatever he unleashed into this world would not be leaving. The ghost in the code would lay dormant for 25 years, but on one faithful December day, a kid would buy a strange disc from a local game store, and little to his knowledge at the time, he would be subjected to the wrath of this angry spirit. This is where Alex comes in. After finding this dusty, poor-condition disc, he starts documenting his findings in this version of the game. It starts off as tame at first, but slowly starts to become much more direct in its approach. Being hunted down by these weird static creatures, and seeing the entity haunting the disc occasionally show up to stalk Alex. The entity having the power to do anything from send messages in Morse code to the audience, to taking control of Alex's YouTube channel, leaving hidden links in the form of spectrogram ciphers for us to find, even having the control to move items with pinpoint accuracy, throwing Alex's controller off his table numerous times, starting fires in his house, and even hopping in his world while he is sleeping, and recording the carnage he gets up to. It's clear that this spirit has much more power than even we are able to comprehend. But as of right now, the story of Alex, Brian, and Notch is left ambiguous, as we wait for the series to conclude. Alex has stated that he is somewhat burnt out of making content for this series right now, and has been on a hiatus that has lasted over 4 months now. If you had been invested enough to get this far into the video, I would seriously really appreciate you heading on over to the Minecraft PSX Archive and giving a sub. Motivate Alex to pick this series back up if you are interested. Being left at the edge of my seat like this is leaving me for more, and I really hope this video inspired you all to want to see this series continue as well. I'll leave you with one more piece of information that has come from the archive. Given all the context and backstory I have now laid out to you, remember the code given to us in the final episode currently on the channel.
I need your help. We need to stop it. I need you to know I'm not the bad guy here.
Again, thank you to Dragon City for sponsoring this video. Remember that if you scan my QR code, you get a special bundle with 15,000 food and 30,000 gold, plus a very super duper uber rare icing dragon to get you started. Alright, bye!